Hey everybody, what's up? Guess you guys haven't had enough of my sweet angelic baritone. Sorry. I mean, the reason you're back might also have something to do with today's topic too, huh? But let's be honest, it's probably mostly because of my voice. We need to keep it moving though, so let's check out some additional attributes that can be pretty useful in an XSD. So sit back and let me serenade you. The additional attributes we're going to be talking about today have a very simple job to do. They're used to provide more detail in the definition of certain elements, like tags and other attributes, specifying things like how often they can appear and other properties. So let's say Jay wants to start his own company, and he's making an XSD for it. He only wants a certain number of employees though. He can indicate this using certain additional attributes. Like name and type, these are just written inside the tag itself. If you don't quite remember how to put an XSD together, all you need to do is go back and check out our video on it. But let's go ahead and have a look at some of these additional attributes when it comes to elements. Okay, so one really important one is default. Default applies when no value is assigned to the element. Basically, when you've got an XML document with some tags and nothing between them. If this is the case, the tag gets the value indicated by the default attribute. So in this case, our default value is dude, since Jay has a hard time remembering people's names and just addresses most people as dude. But as soon as there's a value there for the person's name, the default value is no longer used. Then there's also fixed. Fixed means that the value of the element always corresponds to the value with the fixed attribute. Now the first name's always gonna have the value dude because Jay will not accept any other first name, even if we were to go and give the tag a different value. Now of course, we can also specify how often the tag's supposed to appear. One way we can do this is by using the attribute min occurs. Min occurs says how many times a tag has to occur in an XML. In our XML document here, the employee tag has to be used at least 10 times. Jay thinks he needs at least 10 employees if he wants his company to actually be able to do anything. Now I bet the geniuses out there are already thinking, the same goes for the maximum values too, right? And you've nailed it! And that's exactly what the max occurs attribute is for. Max occurs says how often a tag is allowed to occur in the XML document. Now Jay doesn't have all that much money to work with at this point, so he can't hire more than 15 people right now. I mean, to be honest, he'll probably be lucky to get 10. So anyway, min occurs and max occurs make it possible to define how often certain tags can occur in your XML document. However, if you don't use these two attributes, the values are always going to be 1. Meaning, the employee tag has to appear at least once, but no more than that. That is, exactly 1 time. Anyway, those are the most important attributes that can be added to elements. For now, just remember that additional attributes for elements include default, fixed, min occurs, and max occurs. Now of course, attributes can also have other attributes added to them as well. Default works just like before. If an attribute is not used, it gets assigned a default value. Since lots of Joy's employees don't want to tell him how old they really are, he assumes they must be 35 years old. So if we don't use the age attribute, our employee Alex Scraggle's just gonna be 35 years old. But as soon as we put in a value for age, the default value is of no further value to us. Get it? The value's of no further value. Best pun in 2 weeks! Okay, so now let's look at fixed. Here too, fixed indicates a set value that cannot be changed. Jay wants his employees to feel young, so he just sets all their ages to 18. Alright, now min occurs and max occurs aren't used for attributes. since an attribute can only occur once in a single tag anyway. But we can use an attribute called use. This tells us whether we have to use a certain attribute or not. If use has the value required, then we have to use that attribute, which means we can't choose not to put a value in for it. So like if Jay decides he really wants to know how old his employees are after all. Now if use is given the value optional, we don't have to use this particular attribute and can choose to leave it empty. Optional is actually the default value for use, by the way. Which means that if we don't use, then we don't need to use the attribute it defines either. And there we go. Those are the most important attributes that can be added to attributes. So what have we learned today? For elements, we can use the additional attributes default, fixed, min occurs and max occurs. And for attributes, we can use default, fixed and use. Man, that's a lot of stuff for one day. But if you still haven't had your fill of XML, and come on, who has? Just click on the next video.